Now we move into a panel discussion that highlights one of the most powerful drivers of autonomous innovation, cross-sector collaboration. This conversation will explore how mobility, energy, logistics, and technology ecosystems are working together to accelerate autonomous deployment, and how are the public and private partnerships are enabling scalable, integrated solutions across Abu Dhabi and beyond. To moderate this session is Brandy Scott, host of the Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye 103.8. And let's welcome the panelists as well. Alessandro Bolgonia, Advisor for Clusters Planning and Development, Abu Dhabi Investment Office. Tariq Al-Marzouqi, Chief Executive Officer, Safin Subsea. Michael Sonderby, Acting Chief Executive Officer, Steer AI. Muhannad Samara, Vice President of Business Development and Solutions, E&. Mohammed Al-Ali, Senior Vice President, Offshore Logistics, ADNOC Logistics and Services. Panelists, the floor is all yours.
And welcome. And thank you so much for being with us and staying with us this afternoon. The after lunch slots are always the hardest, so we are going to do our best to keep you awake post-carbohydrate, to keep you informed and to give you some real-world examples and some opinions that you can take away and use after our session today. As mentioned, we are looking here at collaboration between different industries. I don't need to tell you that across the world, not just here in Abu Dhabi, we are moving beyond proof of concept for autonomy. We're now talking about scaling. And scaling requires partnerships, public, private, digital, physical, air, land, sea, and industry. We've got 40 minutes on the clock, and we are going to explore for you how that integration is happening in some of the most important institutions in Abu Dhabi with a global outreach and what it means for the people and the organizations involved in those systems. We've had a quick introduction of our panel. I will just quickly run through the names again in case you missed them. Alessandro Borgogna is the Advisor for Clusters Planning and Development at the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, or ADIO. Tariq Al-Marzouqi, CEO of Safin Subsea, that's a provider of bespoke solutions for the offshore energy industry. Mohammed Al-Ali, Senior Vice President for Offshore Logistics at ADNOC Logistics and Services, a company that needs no introduction. Mohammed Samara, Vice President for Business Development and Solutions at the Technology, Telecom, and increasingly investment company, E&. And Michael Sonderby, Acting CEO of the autonomous mobility tech company, Steer AI. Before we look into what's working, why it's working, and what might not be working, I want to get an idea of the complex web that we're talking about for each of you. So if you could quickly roll off for me, when we talk about collaboration for you, what other industries are you having to work and play nicely with? Mr. ADIO Clusters, first off, how big is your web?
Actually, it's quite big because collaboration and partnership is at the core of what ADIO does. And within our mandate, we are supporting the Abu Dhabi government to develop the future economy for the country across 13 clusters. One of these clusters is called Savvy. And in each cluster, we not only collaborate vertically across infrastructure, university, operator, research institute, partnership with the countries, but also across cluster. Because whatever application that comes out from DriftX or from all the autonomous vehicles has application in the agri-food cluster, has application in the medical cluster, and so on. So our collaboration with the industry is not only vertical in the autonomous industry, but also across different industries.
Tariq?
Well, as Safin Subsea, we are working in oil and gas mainly. And of course, we have a lot of sectors to coordinate with them to ensure our productivity or our efficiency at work. working autonomous is not something easy. It's very complicated. You need a lot of compliance with different authorities. But usually for us as a company which is focusing on data, the most important thing is connectivity, that we need to make sure with different telecom companies like Eتصالات and other resources to make sure that we have the right connectivity to our all activities in the region.
Michael, tell me.
Yeah, so Steer AI, we work with developing autonomous technology. We are basically enabling the retrofit of vehicles with our software, and we also provide the fleet management system. Now, in order for us to do that successfully, we have basically 4 layers of complexity. We deal with the customers, work with e-commerce, Ministry of Defense, security services, other logistics players as well that are interested in these types of solutions. We work with other technology partners. So, for example, in e-commerce, we'll provide the fleet management system. We'll work with ground or drone providers as well to basically facilitate the delivery. We work with technology enablers, of course, the Etisalats, telecoms, but also secure comms providers that basically support the overall delivery of our solution. And then finally, of course, also at the public level, we work with ITC, GCA, we work with SAAC. There's a number of other players that also then provide either regulatory, investment, or other advice.
And as luck would have it, you have a telecoms provider sitting next to you. Mohammed, who are you working with? I presume everybody.
I think you cannot avoid us wherever you go. These are our customers. We're very fortunate to work with all those verticals, be it energy, when you talk about ADNOC and how we demonstrated the cargo going from offshore to the ports, connected 5G, to Safin, where we're connecting their autonomous vessels. They build it here in the UAE. They have 16 cameras, high definitions. You have to have that digital infrastructure. We're doing the same with ITC, DMT, positioning in Al-Ain, Gharbiya, Abu Dhabi, the drones everywhere in order to have a mission in less than 4 minutes. So we're very fortunate to have this kind of evolving economy and shared economy.
Savvy, the word has come up twice. For those of you not based here in Abu Dhabi, that is Abu Dhabi's Smart and Autonomous Vehicles Industry Cluster. That will come up a little bit later on. Right, finally, if I can ask Mohammed the same question. Oil and gas. You've got a lot of people to play with.
If I just give a small introduction of ADNOC Logistics, we are the logistic and maritime arm of ADNOC Group of Companies. We have over 300 vessels delivering the energy to the world. In the maritime segment is maybe one of the most challenging segments when it comes to automation because the infrastructure and the actual technology is not as mature as the land and air industry. So it becomes a little bit more challenging that you need to really get all the stakeholders together to first to design a solution because the solutions are not really readily there available that you actually want to provide them to the maritime sector. So we work with designers, we work with the shipbuilders, we work with the end users, we work with the regulatory body. The advantage we have is that in ADNOC we can bring all the stakeholders together and create a unique solution that will deliver the transportation or whatever maritime solution that we require through autonomous technology.
Okay, well, while we've got you speaking, tell me what it looks like when it works. Give me an example of one successful collaboration that you've overseen at LNS.
In LNS in particular, I would give you a great example how we are actually transporting the materials to the drilling and production operations across the oil fields of ADNOC. So we are supporting ADNOC over 250 square kilometers in the sea area, delivering cargoes every day. How we can actually provide autonomous solutions, it actually starts from our smart warehouse solution in our logistic base, delivering the cargo to the vessel through an autonomous vehicle and loading it onto the autonomous vessel that can take it straight to the field. Now, the autonomous vessel is still under construction stage that will come after 1.5 years. And we worked closely with designers Seoul that they supported us in this design for the last 2 years. It's been a wonderful journey, and we hope to see this product available very soon in the future.
Okay, who wants to share another success with me? Something that you've done collaboration-wise that's working. Michael.
Yeah, we actually have one just outside. We are working together with Noon. They came to us and asked for the fleet management system to basically support the delivery of Noon minutes. And we worked very closely with them initially on the ground space. So we were speaking to the ITC, the RTA as well in Dubai. And at a certain point, drones also became an important topic to look into. So we took that on, then engaged with the GCA. Audio was involved as well. And we're actually now running a few demos on the middle mile, so dark store to dark store. And really seeing quite a nice solution now beginning to scale. So we went from design to test and hoping to scale very soon. So
Under
I think
time pressure as well. And what's Noon minutes? 10 minutes, isn't it?
Always. We're in the UAE. So basically the delivery time is about 5 minutes.
Okay. Mohamed, I can see you getting excited there.
Well, regarding the air, land, and sea, if I start with air, today with DriftX, we're collaborating with ITC and police in order to make sure the traffic flow seamlessly, counting cars. If somebody's car is parked in a wrong place or broken, immediately the command control center, traffic management center, get notified and action goes by. And this
Does that mean if anyone here gets a fine today for over parking or parking in the right place, they need to come and see you?
I mean, by all means, but this is we're acting as an enabler. So in the value chain, it brings the hardware, the network, the connectivity, and having the mission-based with the AI functions. So we read the plate recognition. There's a plate recognition algorithm that says that this car has exceeded 3 minutes in certain area, and notify the authorities, and they take action. So we don't get into the data because of confidentiality, but we enable that backbone of the communication.
Well, I know Parkin just reported its results in Dubai this morning, and certainly the robotics are increasing the amount of fines that they're able to issue, and is adding to the revenues for shareholders. Great for shareholders, not so great for those of us who are paying the fines. Tarek.
For us as Safin Subsea, we have one great achievement which called Safin Green. It's an unmanned vessel remotely controlled by the crew onshore. And we completed 7 projects in ADNOC with this vessel completely unmanned. And we did more than 20,000 kilometers of survey lines, which required a lot of communication, coordination with different compliance requirement. ADNOC Marine team, if we go back 5 years ago, we would not be on the same position. It is first time we as an engineer, we feel like we are behind. We need to do more job, and we need to open our vision, because today we have better connectivity and AI. That's a very strong infrastructure, and we have the buy-in. Before it was anything autonomous used to have very high resistance. But today, everybody's encouraging. So we need to take advantage of this opportunity and make sure that all authorities working together to come up with fast-track projects can be implemented in oil and gas, or any industry, basically, not only oil and gas.
Alessandro, tell me something that's working and tell me why.
I mean, as ADIO, we are supporting maybe something that you heard during the previous panel. We are supporting 20 commercial projects where we have a partnership between the technology operator and the end users. And what we do as ADIO, we try to put all this together.
Yeah.
So we identify what are the technology provider, the use case, the potential customer, who is the funding entity, who is the insurance, what part of the regulatory system you need to engage in order to deploy the commercial pilots. So it's not only one case. We have more than 20.
So, okay, so you're telling me the stuff that's working. Tell me, when stuff goes wrong, when collaboration breaks down, why does it break down? I've lived out here for 25 years. One of the things that's always pointed at is information silos, information hoarding. Is it trust? Is it communication? Let's be honest and frank with each other. When stuff goes wrong, what is most usually the case?
Well, as I mentioned, we are talking about very sophisticated technology, and we need to build trust between all the parties or stakeholders in order to develop and implement new ideas, which are today the technologies can implement a lot of applications, but we are talking about full control, having unmanned, depending on solutions which are completely depend on software or depend on AI. So we need to also increase the redundancy. We need to make sure if it is not working, we should have the right communication between all the parties to ensure that high level of trust on unmanned solution is there at the right stage.
Is the trust there? Mohanif?
Well, I would say it's in its infancy. I would say that I know you're all about visuals. Let me draw for you what's the tech stack for AI, for autonomous. First, the infrastructure, be it the street infrastructure, be it the data infrastructure. On top of that, there is an AI model that would run on a data. Then the use case is the business outcome. The issue is when you don't realize the business outcome, could be because of the AI model is not accurate. Why data model are not accurate? Because there's not enough training. Why not enough training means there's no connectivity flowing from the brain of the car to, or the drone to the command control center. There's number one. Number two, there is also the trust because of the perception. If you remove today, and we heard it this morning through His Excellency, they will remove the safety driver. He's doing nothing. But once you remove them, once you remove the human, then there's a panic that what if something goes wrong, who will push the brake? The third one is the liability issue. If there is an accident, then who's liable? Is the owner of the car manufacturer, or the AI model that is in there? So we need to look at the legal framework, the data framework, and the security framework. And good thing about in Abu Dhabi and UAE is that there is cybersecurity council is very active. So we work together with them to establish UTM. This is an unmanned traffic management system that goes nationwide, the first in the world. So that means you track all those autonomous, the drones and tomorrow vehicles and others. This way, there is a confidence that if something goes wrong, there is a cockpit. Remotely, somebody will automatically take over. This would go, step by step for increasing the awareness and the trust for people.
Well, Michael, you're right there in the AI car space. As you move from pilot to commercial deployment, what's the hardest bit?
Sorry?
What's the hardest bit?
Look, the hardest bit is living up to the expectations of the end user and managing them upfront. Making sure that we are solving a tangible, valuable problem that can be implemented in the time frame that's expected, and not coming up with the perfect solution, which is very often where the conversation starts when we have an engagement. What can we do with autonomous? They want to have something which is literally no people, no interactions, and of course you can take a big cost part out of it. So managing that expectation and getting it to the level of what we have and how we solve something, and then explaining what is the journey of now getting to that final outcome of being fully autonomous, maybe even level 5, that's really the biggest challenge in the beginning, I'd say.
Are our expectations here higher than elsewhere?
We're supposed to have high expectations, and it's our job to then manage those expectations and deliver on what we then promise.
I'm just checking we're not asking you for a sci-fi movie. Who's next?
Thank you, Brandy. Look, I think without getting too technical, the biggest challenge within all of these projects, it's how much both partners are taking in terms of risk. And I don't have a story where we actually failed in our partnership. I have so many success stories with Sana'a, with Seoul, with DSV, with many other partners who we worked closely with to develop autonomous solutions. However, I believe the reason we succeeded is because we shared the risks, we shared the reward, and in case, God forbid, it actually goes all to failure, we also share the failure if it happens. This is, it actually makes things much easier when you discuss and when it comes to the terms of the partnership, of how you actually want to develop the solution, and how also the performance guarantees, how the solution will actually perform later on. But sharing the risk, I think, is really a key of actually making this success story.
May I add something? I think I want to say an anecdote. 20 years ago, around 2003, 2004, when my boss announced that we are the 5th nation in the world to establish the 3G, somebody from the speakers, instead of asking him a question about the benefits, he said, I just bought a Nokia phone. My Ericsson charger does not work. So imagine the standardization. It took the industry 20 years to become like charger with Type-C. I'm very optimistic with the silver lining that the acceleration that is happening right now, the standardization in Abu Dhabi and UAE, is very rapid and taking shape. I see the number of workshops that the Smart Autonomous Systems Council are doing in order to bring the industry to the same page. You will never see that elsewhere. So I think there is an optimistic view here about how we can turn this into a success story.
Alessandro, what frustrates you? What keeps you up at night? What's driving you crazy?
I mean, multiple things. But from our perspective, that we needed to support Abu Dhabi to expand the sector, it's really how to combine all the different elements of the value chain of the autonomous industry in one coherent infrastructure, economic infrastructure. So putting together the regulator, the OEM, the suppliers, the infrastructure, the data, and so on, I think that is one of the most complex challenges, because each of them, they have a different objectives. The regulator is about safety, right? It's about economic policy. But then you need to make sure that this regulation does not affect innovation. So sometimes when you sit with them, you need to say, okay, we have a regulation, but there is a lot of innovation that is coming up. Why don't we discuss how to adapt the regulation with the evolution of the industry?
For my maritime speakers here from the energy industry, you're obviously dealing with international regulation. You're dealing with multiple stakeholders when it comes to laws, when it comes to international regulation, different sovereign regulation. What can you add about what moves quickly, what doesn't move fast enough, and where the safe balance is?
Look, maritime is one of the most regulated industries, actually, if you go across all the transportation industries. There are, very clear guidelines and also available how to actually follow these regulations. And to be honest, we didn't find challenges when it comes to actually meeting these regulations. And we had, because we also have the support of the Classification Society, who will actually work with you side by side until you make sure that the product at the end will follow all the regulations required by the international or local regulations. And for me, this has never been a concern. The main concern was actually in the maritime industry, unlike the land and the air, is that who's the end user, who's the consumer? And you put an autonomous car, everybody will be able to use it from the society. However, in the maritime, there are very specific end users, and if they don't really utilize the product, what will happen to this product? So this is the main challenge, and this is why you will find partnership in the maritime is even more critical with across all the value chain, not just to provide to design and provide the product as per the regulation, but also you have to work hand in hand with the consumer because they are very specific.
Yeah, and Tarek, particularly at a time when we're hearing that Gulf producers are looking more to fracking technology, to shale technology potentially coming out of the US for realising unconventional deposits. What are you looking at for regulation? What does the picture look like for you?
As mentioned, the challenge for us is not basically because we are not focusing on transportation or things like that, but when it comes to end user, we want to repair or fix things, use robotic solutions. We want to touch a live pipeline, for example. We want to send things that at seabed to identify what is that object. So when it comes to regulations, we are fine. We have, maybe it's, as mentioned by Captain, it's well organized. But our applications, it's a bit different than the common normal applications. Sometimes we have applications which are very specific requirement, like repairing a fiber optic line. It's very specific requirement for us.
Michael, you're at the coal face, or rather you're at the battery face, I suppose, when it comes to very, very, very fast-moving innovation. Does tech keep up? Does regulation keep up with the innovation that you're seeing fast enough around the world?
I mean, the short answer is no. You can see when we deploy new systems, it takes time before the safety, all the other elements are in place. I think we make a virtue out of, first of all, making sure that we're testing something at a scale which allows us data points to share back and ensure that we have something which shows that this works, this basically adheres to the current regulations and also can influence how they should then think about formulating new regulations that enables, I mean, we focus more on off-road unmapped autonomy. It's not so much on the road side, but even there we also need to make sure that we have something which is tangible and has a data point that allows us to engage with the regulators on a fact level.
Are those regulations coming in globally enough for those who are manufacturing, those who are trying to roll out at scale?
No, I mean, we focus very much on the UAE at the moment, right? So at the global scale, I still think there's a lot to be done to have the level of coherence that we have here in the UAE. So, I mean, we're really focusing on the UAE at the moment. The global is a very different ballgame.
Alessandro, I want to also ask you...
Regulation is an extremely important element in order also to support the local industry to export. Because if you have an asset that is regulated only in UAE, but then our regulatory system is not recognized by another country, that asset cannot be exported. So the harmonization of the regulation across different countries in order to allow for the export and to expand the business of a company set up here is extremely important. And this is something that I believe all the regulators in the world, they need to work together to make sure that those industries, those companies are financially sustainable. Because the thing about a company that is set it up in UAE, right, they produce a car or an aircraft and so on. In order to have a sustainable financial model, they need to produce assets. And they cannot sell their asset only to the local supplier because the economy is not big enough. So they need to export. But in order to export, the regulators between the two countries need to be aligned. And that is something where I truly believe that all the regulators, they really need to sit in a room and to align to the regulation and to have bilateral recognition of the certified asset.
You mentioned sort of the dichotomy public-private partnership a little while ago. Are you finding, and I realize that obviously ADIO is straddling a little bit, but getting industry and government objectives on the same page? And again, we're a little bit different here in the UAE and in Abu Dhabi, that where industry and government meet is maybe a little bit blurred than it is in other countries. But in terms of having not just the same objectives, but the same timelines of what needs to be done. Does anyone want to throw in anything about how those partnerships are working and what's making them work?
Look, one of the partnerships that I could just mention, because it was announced a few hours ago, is the partnership between us, the airport, and the regulator to develop the network of vertiports. And the challenge was not really aligning with the airport and so on, but was identify the right location where develop the vertiports. actually the speed that we proceed to develop also all those vertiports was quite fast. I mean, if you look at what is happening in the world, right, in a different country in the world without naming any, or you hear an announcement, oh, I built one vertiport, or I built two. But then what do you expect? That these aircraft will go up, down, and so on. Instead here, in a very short time, we were able to plan more than 10 vertiports jointly with the industry. And that is not, it was not an easy task, because if you think about that those aircraft are electrical, and in the typical airports, there is fuel, there's gasoline. So we needed to think about how to electrify the vertiports, how to change together with the regulator the safety regulation for this asset. And actually, we were able to coordinate each other pretty well. And the partnership was announced, and a few vertiports will be available in a few months. So I think here the public-private partnership works very well, also based on you said, because there's a lot of alignment from what the government does and what the private sector also applies.
No, it's a slightly different beast than a lot of others in that way. Right, I've got a minute and a half left to give to each of you. So what I'm going to do is ask you to tell me what you see for your industry, your company, your projects as the biggest opportunity, and then also the biggest barrier or risk right now. Mohamed? Oh, I said Mohamed, but I'll take Mohamed or Mohammed. I'm good with either.
Okay. For us, the biggest project definitely is the remotely operated offshore vessel. That's, we will be now going through construction and will be live after 1.5 years. This will be the landmark of the autonomous projects for ADNOC Logistics and Services. The biggest challenge, and that will, Mohamed will support us there, is the communication infrastructure. As this will develop and this will improve in the maritime sector, will definitely enable us and will ensure the success of this project.
Mohamed, your biggest opportunity and your biggest
just to
risk.
build on that, yeah, the opportunity, we're building 5.5G corridors across the sea, what we call close to shore, 40, 50 kilometers across the Arabic Sea, the Abu Dhabi shore, in order to act like a blanket where Safin, ADNOC, NMDC, and others, they can move seamlessly, always connected with the preventive maintenance use cases and data use cases. Then there is the air. We're working with the ITC, with the DMT, with the GCAA, MOD, and other regulators in order to create a corridor that ensures, one, always connected drone, traceable drone, and also that the traffic underneath it, because it has to be safe for safe landing, so less people density. And the third one is the land, where we're working with the Space 42, WeRide, Uber, and others to always connect them, be it in the islands and the airport and otherwise. So this is the biggest opportunity. Where I see the challenge is adoption. Adoption is the most important thing to become not technically feasible only, but economically viable. So we believe, like one of the speakers today, he said, if Steve Jobs waited for the opportunity for the tablet, he wouldn't have done it before. So we build it, and we see that they will come, hopefully.
Michael?
Yeah, so we focus very much on defense and retrofitting vehicles within defense. We recently had a mandate from the leadership asking for 30% of the fleet to be retrofitted. That was a huge driver to having conversations about not should we or should we not, but how do we do it, and aligning on the timelines. So we see that as a big momentum for us to grow the business, focusing in that space. We're actually also looking within logistics of defense, because we see it as a dual-use technology, so it'll allow us also in due time to grow into other spaces. In terms of challenges, I think we have a talent challenge. Very often we want to bring in the top talent outside of the UAE. A lot of them are working for some great startups in the US. They have equity, they have packages that are set up in a certain way, which makes them very difficult to bring in. We are beginning to make changes, but I mean, really bringing the right talent to capture that opportunity is something that we need to solve.
Tarek?
For us, of course, we changed our mindset. We are more focused on unmanned vessels now, and we are trying to relocate like 500 people from offshore to onshore and make them more close to their families, and they can deliver with more efficiency. It's more cost effective and environmental friendly. And this is our main objective in coming years. The challenges are, as mentioned, always connectivity. We need to be connected always in order to be efficient. We need to depend on our machine learning. We need to feed all this AI with more information in order to make our operations more efficient with an autonomous way.
Alessandro.
Yes.
Well, our North Star as ADIO is to build a sustainable autonomous industry across sea, land, air. And my role is addressing challenges, right? So when I found in this North Star some challenges, my role is to address them. But there is one challenge that I don't think that we will be capable to address. At least I will not be capable to address it, which is the consumer adoption. Because you can address all the others. You can address the regulation. At the end, you rewrite the regulation. You can address the technology. You can address anything, the infrastructure. But if the consumer will not accept this new asset, this new way of move, that will affect the entire industry.
There we go. Alessandro, Tarek, Michael, Mohamed, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you very much for yours.